Welcome back. Today we talk about 100 facts of the ancient Egyptian civilization part 3. The Second Transition Era. From 1785 to 1580 BC. It includes families from 13th to 17th, chaos has returned to prevail again and things are troubled. Which is an era of decay, and the era of the occupation of Egypt by the Hyksos. The last of this era is characterized by the development of military technique and the emergence of war wheels, which led to a decisive victory in what is considered the first major liberation war in the history of the world when Ahmose was able to expel the Hyksos after an occupation of about 150 years. This era lasted 5 families in about 210 years with the following detail. 13th and 14th dynasties, from 1785 to 1710 BC. Ko-Tawi Ra, and Dry. Sekhem Ka Ra. Sank Ip Ra, Amni Antofa Menemhat. Sekhem Ra Shad Tawi, Sobik M Sof, I. Sobtep I. Sekhem Ra Ko-Tawi, Sab Kotep II. Samnek Ka Ra Mer, radioactive. Sekhem Ra Ko-Tawi, Sab Kotep III. Sekhem Ra Ankh-Tawi. Ka Ssh Ra, Neferhotep I. Suthur. Ka Nefer Ra, Sab Kotep IV. Ka Ankh Ra, Sab Kotep, V. Ka Hotep Ra, Sab Kotep, Vi. Wa Ip Ra, Ip. Mer Nefer Ra, I. Mer Hotep Ra, Sab Kotep VII. Mer Kau Ra, Sab Kotep VIII. Kanther. Sekhem Ra Wades Kau, Sobikms II. Amenemhat Sab Kotep. Mer Sekhem Ra, Neferhotep II. Sekhem Ra, Gi Tawi Dehudi. Sekhem Ra Nefer Kau, Wawat Am Sof. Sekhem Ra Wa Kau, Ra Hotep. Sekhem Ra Ko-Tawi, Ben Thani. Dd Nefer Ra, Dedo Moses. Dd Hotep Ra, Dedo Moses. Dd Ankh, Montumsf. Naza. The lists differed among themselves and therefore historians differed among themselves on the names of some other kings, about 30 other kings, in these 2 dynasties, which ruled for about 100 years, and this indicates the short periods ruled by each king, which led to disintegration and deterioration and paved the way for the invasion of the Hyksos. Invasion of the Hyksos. The entry of the Hyksos to Egypt began at the end of the rule of the kings of the 14th dynasty. And the Hyksos people came from the east and built their capital in the east of the delta in Arares, and the south of the country was not under their control, and the princes of the south were sending them tribute. And the Hyksos stayed in northern Egypt about a century and a half until they were expelled by the rulers of the south, who were able to establish a strong army and fight them and expel them and destroyed everything related to them until their memory is erased from the souls and there is no memory left for them. So the names of their kings cannot be arranged in a certain historical order, so we mention the following names of 23 kings during the 15th and 16th dynasties from 1710 to 1680 BC. Aosir Ra. Nabkabash Ra. Aknan Ra. Thikin. Suffered Kitten. Kion. 8 kings called themselves the good God. 6 kings who called themselves son of the sun. Akan. Participate. Abebe. The reign of these kings lasted about 150 years, and the presence of the Hyksos helped to make the Egyptian people for the first time in their history a people who fought and triumphed for freedom. As a result, he began to cross his borders with such military force and subjugate the neighboring countries. The revolt of Egypt against the Hyksos began from the princes of the city of Thebes, kings of the 17th dynasty. The most important kings of the 17th dynasty, from 1680, 1580 BC. Ta-Aa. Ta-Aa the Great. Ta-Aa Chin, i.e. Ta-Aa Brave, Seknan Ra. Kamas, Wad-Shabar Ra. The struggle against the Hyksos began with King Sekenen Ra, who was probably killed on the battlefield and followed by his son Kames in his battles against the Hyksos. And may have also been killed in battle, but left a brother who completed the message to the fullest, Ahmose, the first king of the 18th dynasty. The New Kingdom, Empire. From 1580 to 1085 BC. 18th dynasty, from 1580 to 1314 BC. After the War of Liberation, Egypt entered a Great War phase. Its kings began the war on Asia and conquered Palestine and Syria until they reached the Euphrates River and south to the Fourth Cataract in Sudan. The kings of this dynasty erected enormous temples such as Karnak and Luxor. And the country lived in the most prosperous manifestations of luxury, art, science, trade. At the end of this dynasty, King Akhenaten brought about a religious coup and worshipped the sun disk alone as a symbol of the unification of the gods into one powerful god. He moved the capital from Thebes to Amarna, but his brother Tutankhamun, who later changed his name to Tutankhamun, returned to the ancient religion and the ancient capital. Power was then transferred to the 19th dynasty. The kings of the 18th dynasty are Ahmose I, Neb-Badi-Ra,
Amenhotep I, Ge-Ser-Ka-Ra, Thutmose I, Anuz of Ka-Ra,
Thutmose II, Anuz-that-Ra, Thutmose, Hunam-Amun Hatshepsut. I didn't know what to do. Thutmose III, from the news of Ra. Amenhotep II, Anuz of Ra. Thutmose IV, Khgh Khau, from Kabaro Ra. Amenhotep III, Nemuria, Nebmat-Ra. Amenhotep IV, Nefer-Kabaru, Ra-Ra, and Ra-Akhenaten. Sa-Ka-Ra, Sa-Ka-Ra Ze-Ser-Kabro-Samnit-Ka-Ra. Tutankhaten, Tutankhamun, Neb-Kabaro-Ra. I, Nuz Ra-Er-Mat. Haram-Hab, Mar-Namun, G. The Secret of the News of Ra. Naval 19, from 1314 to 1200 BC. Ramses I, from Badi Ra. Seti I, Sidi Marn Ptah, from Mat Ra. Ramses II Mary Amen. The Secret of Mat Ra Stepan Ra. Marn Ptah, Ba and Ra Mary Amun. I will count freely Mat. Amonmsis, from Mat Ra Stepan Ra. Mon Ptah Septa, brother in Ra, Stepan Ra. Seti II, Sidi Marn Ptah, and the Secret of Kabaro Ra. Ramses Septa. Stkh Noct, Mar Ra, and the Secret of Kau Ra, Stepan Ra. Ramses X, Mat Ra Nu Stepan Ra. Ramses XI, from Mat Ra Stepan Ptah. 20th Dynasty, from 1200 to 1085 BC. Ramses III, and the Secret of Mat Ra Muramun. Ramses IV, Stepan Amen, the Secret of Mat Ra Mary Amun. Ramses V, Osir Mat Ra Mak That Ra. Ramses V, Neb Mat Ra Mary Amen. Ramses VII, Osir Ma'at Ra Mary Amen. Ramses VIII, Osir Mat Ra Brother if believed. Ramses IX, Nefer Ka Ra Stepan Ra. The Last Age of Decay. From 1085 BC to 332 BC. The last 9 Ramessians were weak kings who caused the fall of the 20th dynasty and the beginning of the last decay era from the 21st dynasty to the 31st dynasty that ended with Alexander the Macedonian's conquest of Egypt. During this era, its camps in the north and south were separated from the empire, and its Libyan neighbors coveted it. So they ruled it for some time, then it fell into Nubian dynasties, and the Persians coveted it and occupied it. And finally Egypt fell into the hands of Alexander. 21st dynasty, from 1085 to 950 BC. Nsabendid, Sundus. Harahor. Isepknu I. Be-Nizmai. Security Opt. Sia Moon. Basibknu II. 22nd dynasty, from 950 to 730 BC. During the rule of the 21st dynasty, the Libyans were able to extend their influence over Lower Egypt by peaceful immigration and by increasing the mercenary Libyan soldiers in the Egyptian army. With the increasing weakness of the state of the kings of the 21st dynasty, the influence of the Libyans increased until one of them was able to seize power for himself, which is hanging, and thus established the rule of the 22nd dynasty, and the kings of this family are Shahangak I, or Sarkhan I, Taklat I, or Sirkin II, Shahang II, Taklat II, Shahangak III, Bam I, Shasang IV. 23rd dynasty, from 817 to 730 BC. Hadibast, Shasang V, or Sirkin III, Taklat III, Amenrod, or Sirkin IV, 24th dynasty, from 730 to 715 BC. Tav Nakht, Shepsis Ra. Akin Ren F, Wa Ka Ra, known to the Greeks as Bochorus. 25th dynasty, the Nubian king Banqi was able to seize Upper Egypt and then follow the course of the Nile to the delta, subjugating its princes and the foundations of the rule of this Nubian dynasty, namely Banqi, from the news of Ra. Shpaka, Nefer Ka Ra. Sheba Ta Ka, grandfather of Ka Ra. Tahareg, Nefer Tam Ko Ra. Ta'an and Adiam Ba Ka Ra. The 30th dynasty, from 378 to 341 BC, and its kings are Nakhnab I. Very free, Teus. Free Nakht Love, Nakhnab II. The rulers of this family remained in permanent wars with the Persians, who were able to seize it a second time during the reign of its last rulers and founded the 31st dynasty, but their rule did not last long this time. It ended with Alexander's conquest of Egypt. The 31st dynasty, from 341 to 333 BC, and its kings are Rhases III, Okos. Arsis. Darius III, Kudoman. And this family ends. This period of Egyptian history ends with Alexander's conquest of Egypt. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, support us by likes and subscribes.